Well, hello. Unfortunately, we had to sort of cut John short, because of a slight emergency. But we're back, and I think that what we'll do is we'll let you see the entire thing. So be prepared for plenty and plenty and plenty of Henty. So here we go with himself. Here he is, Mr. Entertainment himself, and with more tales, I'm sure, about Max Miller, but other things. Good morning, John Henty.
Yes, good morning, Keith. Good morning, world. You're this part of the world, indeed, and welcome everybody on a November morning with little activity, I have to say, out there at the moment. I was into Brighton yesterday meeting with some Max Miller colleagues, as we've mentioned them before, Appreciation Society, and some of whom occasionally watch Mirador with pleasure and amusement, I think we can safely say. It was a very jolly day and very important, rather like Mirador in its own way, because it is a coming together, albeit here on screen, with you there wherever you are. But of course, we get together, as I've often mentioned, and I have to mention two rock cakes. We've discussed rock cakes before. In fact, food is very often food for thought, really, on Mirador. We've discussed sausages, I know, in the past at great length, the occasional reference to tomatoes, but rock cakes in particular have been a structure and a solid foundation for my existence in Brighton, which people may find hard to understand. And I perhaps should just explain, if I haven't already, that they were created by a man during the war when it was difficult to make any sort of cake, of course. I can remember that very clearly. I mean, I remember just after the war, even a sponge cake with the slightest touch of cream was a sheer delicacy, and how you enjoyed it. The tragedy about life today, of course, is that everywhere you go, there are cakes, the mass of cakes.
It's all cream and no cake.
It's all precisely right, and the eclairs are coming out of people's ears, and they're everywhere. Whereas a rock cake is somehow rather solid, a foundation almost for British society, the Rock of Ages. I think.
British Rail ran on it for years.
Oh my goodness me, where were we without a British Rail rock cake, and preferably a curled up sandwich too? Always great fun. No, I mean, Bert used to make these rock cakes in the war, but that time less fat, etc. But he found a few currants as well, and they became very popular to the extent that when he created his little cafe in the Royal Pavilion Gardens, and anyone, of course, can go there, even today, for example, on a grotty day like today? Oh, yes. There's a lovely man there. Funnily enough, we talk about Max Miller. And again, I pay credit to this man because he helps out during the rather grotty weather when no one else ventures out. This man is called Windy, which I think is singularly appropriate. Windy Miller, funnily enough. Yes, not Max Miller, but Windy Miller.
Any relation?
No, unfortunately not. We've pressed him on the Max. People often say, did Max have any children? And we always make the point we don't think he did. He may have had nephews and nieces and a whole range of things, but when it came to kids, no. His marriage was stable and happy, but basically he was on the road the whole time, so he didn't get home an awful lot. What he did like, and we've mentioned this before, is he was very fond of parrots, funnily enough. So maybe parrots replaced, I mean, after all, parrots will talk to you. Missing, mate, eh?
Yeah.
And they can answer back. Of course, there's one very famous parrot which I tip my hat to, because he lives today and will probably outlive me and certainly Keith. His name is Archie, and he lives in Eastbourne, funnily enough, in a bookshop with this lady Camilla that I've mentioned before. Not the Camilla, by the way, not the Queen, but this is Camilla in Eastbourne. And she has this lovely, lovely parrot. It's an African grey or green, one of the two. And it talks and it listens and it makes little noises and it's lovely. And Max had more than one parrot, apparently. The only trouble is they can be a bit messy, as you know. You have to clear the cage out every so often. But overall, he had all these little parrots. And that was quintessentially in his various homes across Brighton and bits of Sussex. We've said before, he was always on the move. He had wealth towards the end of his life, was able to move into rather nice houses. In the early part, of course, he had no option, but he had to move into whatever they could find because they were an impoverished family. And that, of course, sadly, is the case today. A lot of people are doing just the same thing, going from room to room, which is unbearable and unthinkable. Bert, of course, was the rock. And if you wanted a decent rock cake, and I had one yesterday, that's why I mentioned it. I got there quite early for one reason or another. I think the trains were running. There's a surprise. The trains were running. And so I got an early train and I sat there in the grounds, the wonderful Royal Pavilion there, of course, the backdrop, which is superb, autumn colours everywhere. And there was probably me and Windy and a nice, nice lady with a wonderful smile that you would really love. Her name is Teresa. And Teresa is always there and a constant in the kitchen, produces the most marvellous, forget your rolled up or bent sandwiches. She produces the most marvellous open sandwiches. You name it, she would do it. I mean, her smoked salmon and cream cheese, wonderful. And if you want the crusts cut off, she will even do that. Yesterday, though, when I got there at 10, I looked at the counter behind and I thought, oh my goodness me, this is bad news. There are no rock cakes. Wrong. Within seconds, they emerged from the kitchen. A small kitchen at the rear of this lovely cafe. And there was a plate of warm, hot rock cakes. Superb. And I said, well, I think I'll have a little bit of butter with that. So he said, oh, it's a bit solid, this butter, these butter pats. I said, don't worry, I will put it under the rock cake as it sat on the plate and it melted beautifully. And therefore I had this marvellous, and it was so
Buttered
good.
rock cake.
Oh,
yes.
Yes, in a way, butter adds something. You have to be careful of your cholesterol and all the rest of it. But just a little pat of butter and this rock cake was superb. And then I was joined all by these other people, the sort of people that you would really like. One or two of them do watch this. I know our friend Avril watches this, for example. And then there was Jack who watches this. And then right at the end, a man that you would absolutely adore, a real character, a man who claims to have danced with Gene Kelly, believe it or not. Oh, yes. Danced with Gene Kelly. And there's a wonderful singer, chanteuse in France. Was it Josephine Baker? I think her name was Josephine Baker. Famous in France. And there's a gentleman there with beard and glasses.
Yeah.
Yes.
You'll have your beer in a minute.
Oh dear, oh dear.
God, that was hard.
I'm afraid so. Yes. We had a friend seeking a beer at the wrong time of day, I think we can safely say. But
I think he'd found some beer at the wrong time of the day already.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I refused to serve him when he came. I said, no, I've had enough already.
Well, there you are, you see.
Yeah.
And that's why I changed the time from 10:30 to 11. we are allowed to serve from 10:30.
Exactly, but within limits.
Yeah.
And I think there has to be limits.
Yes.
Beard and glasses, you see, intelligent man.
Absolutely.
Moment I saw him,
there we go.
there is
Yes.
and responsible for,
Yes.
which requires a fair amount of. Anyway, so I got back to the rock cakes. There were all these lovely people, and then this man Peter turned up, the one who's danced with Gene Kelly.
Right.
This was in a rather strange situation where they went to see a musical separately, Both obviously thought it was a bit duff and didn't like it. And Sinatra was in the little lounge bar, probably looking for a beer or something. And there was Gene Kelly, and there was this fella Peter. And I think they got talking, as one does. And I think they got onto the subject of what Peter knew about. And they actually did do a little dance. Not Singing in the Rain, of course. That was the famous Gene Kelly, wasn't
That's
it?
right.
What a marvelous film!
Who was it that danced with him? Who was the female partner?
Oh my goodness me! Singing in the Rain. Now you've really got a question there. Do you know?
No, I don't. But I've got it in my mind.
The actual Singing in the Rain was very much a solo with him, wasn't it?
Yes.
With an umbrella and everything, and doing through the puddles. Wonderful sequence. Every Christmas, I mean, it's either the African Queen or it's Singing in the Rain. I know. And the lovely thing is, I mean, so many films today, you say, well, I didn't think much of that. Would you bother to see it again? No, you wouldn't. The essence of those wonderful films from the past, 40s and 50s, you could see them over and over again, and see little things that you may have missed the first time round. So there we are. How on earth we got on to rock cakes, I don't know, except they were delicious. And I would recommend, they're easy to make as well. They're not too difficult to make, he said, never having actually made one.
But I love rock cake. They're wonderful things.
My speciality, funnily enough, and I discussed this on another occasion, I have been known, and this will amuse the management at home, I have been known to make a pretty good Victoria sponge. And that's quite tricky, you see, because it's no good having it. It's got to rise, you see. And so that's another thing. But I'm not too handy in the kitchen. And I have to say that with instant food today, microwaves and all the rest of it, it's not the same. It's not the same. But that's how I rely. Now, there was another subject we touched on last week. Because you were talking about, I mean, we're both collectors in our same way, aren't we not?
Yes, we are.
We love collecting odds and bods and can never resist a little object, an interesting object. And you mentioned to me a tractor. Do you remember that?
Yes, indeed.
You said you got this miniature tractor.
That's right.
That's right. Which is part of a little layout that you've got.
Yes.
What a lovely idea, a small tractor. And I said to you, and then I thought, I mustn't forget this. So I wrote it down ahead. I said, tractor, Keith, you see. And would you believe it? This morning I brought my tractor with me.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. I can't wait to see the tractor.
Well, this is a very special tractor, I have to say. And I can tell you a little bit about it as well. I've got the bag over here, which has got rather a lot of things in it, and a tractor. There's not many bags that carry tractors. Here's the bag again.
This is the famous bag. You
No.
never know what's going to come out of
You
this.
have no idea what's going to come out of it. I have got one of these, actually, which is an umbrella, because it's slightly inclement out there. At the moment.
Yes, and you can't tell quite what's going to happen.
You can't tell that.
Yes,
But
yes.
this object is, it's.
Oh, that is quite magnificent.
Can you see it, everybody?
Yes.
That really is absolutely amazing. It is tin plate. It is tin plate. It has got solid rubber wheels. And it has got a steering wheel. Let me demonstrate the steering wheel. I think everybody can see the front wheels. Look at that, the steering wheel like that. And then, as I think I mentioned, it's got a brake as well.
Ooh.
It's got a brake. And even more amazing, it has got gear
shift.
and they work. They actually work. You can put it into reverse. You can put it into first class, and it all works. But you have to wind it up. Never lose the key. You know, it's easy to get. It's very easy this day and age. He and I frequently get wound up. I mean, there are many things that make us wound up.
Yes.
But we need a key. Listen to this. Can you hear that? Isn't that magic? Doesn't that take me back?
Wonderful sound, isn't
right.
it? Yes.
Now whether it would.
Here
we are. I put it on here. Only look at that. And then I'll just put it. I'm sorry, viewers, you can't see this, but I might possibly try and get it into reverse. No, it won't go into reverse at the moment. Or wait a minute, it goes down there.
Wonderful. Oh, I envy you.
I mean, can you imagine the
cheap as that.
technology?
Yeah. How long have you had that?
Well, we used to sell these, believe it or not, because we had a little shop in Cornwall, in Foy, in Cornwall. And there was a firm on the east coast of England called Tobar, Tobar. And they specialized in these, what you might call novelty items, including little bird cage, some elephants that do straight up. Bring an elephant next time.
Oh, right.
I'll try and bring an elephant.
Yeah.
It's rather bulky, actually. I cannot explain how incredible. I've lost the key now. I'll look for that in a bit.
Whatever else.
It's on the
Lose
floor.
key.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
We don't need the key, fortunately. I'll put it down there. This, believe it or not, was manufactured in Czechoslovakia.
Really?
In Czechoslovakia, yes. They're famous for glass in Czechoslovakia, but also for tin toys. And I wouldn't be at all surprised. There must be viewers out there who are they might have one of these or certainly be familiar with them. But what is so remarkable is, one, it has this amazing steering column. It has brakes that work, and it has
it's quite remarkable.
That
in its own way, it's an engineering feat in itself.
It is quite unbelievable to the extent that, especially putting it in reverse.
Yes.
You
don't find too many that you can put into forward and then reverse. Yeah.
I'm pretty certain you would like that, wouldn't you?
Oh, my goodness me. It's wonderful.
I'll make inquiries. I don't think Tobar exists now.
Anymore.
No, sadly, they don't exist. But you never knew. And occasionally, you do see these in collector shops, of course. And how much would it fetch today? Well, there's someone out there saying, well, not very much, just a bit of old tin. Could be wrong, you know. I reckon
these things actually are worth a fortune in some instances.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Well, a working model like that, complete with key, which I will gravel around for. But remind me, will you, viewers, please? Just remind me that the key's on the floor. Thank you. I will take that away. I reckon it's probably, I could get a good 50 quid for it if I was.
Oh, I would have thought more than that. Yes.
But because of what it is, and
particularly since they're out of production now, which is added value.
I would think that's very strong possibility. But these solid rubber tires as well, I just think that's one of the finest toys that I've ever seen, actually.
Oh, it's lovely. Absolutely lovely.
And I suppose the odd thing is, and this is back to something we discussed last week, it would probably appeal to little boys and girls, not boys, but not girls. I don't suppose girls wouldn't really be into it.
I don't think so. It's difficult to say how tastes have changed now, but generally speaking, I think that girls and dollies and boys and tractors are still
there. Although there is an argument. I mean, for example, there was the Women's Land Army during the war.
Yeah.
So women were during the war, of course, they were doing men's work on a ground.
That's right. Yeah, picking potatoes and all sorts of things.
Well, that's right. I had an aunt, a lovely lady called Aunt Muriel, who looked after her parents during the war. But not only did she do that, but she worked in a munitions factory in Croydon, believe it or not, a munitions factory in Croydon. And so there was this highly skilled woman whose needlework was superb. And there she was creating weapons.
Bombs, yes.
Which is
I do remember, John, that it would have been in the war and immediately post-war.
Yeah.
As the land girls used to wear khaki socks up to the knee.
Yes, they did.
And then they had a sort of breeches.
Yes, rather like Max Miller's +4.
That's right. Yes. And they were very distinctive. I mean, you could actually say, "There's a land girl."
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was practical. I mean, for the same reason that golfers didn't want their trousers flapping about as they went to strike a ball. Who's that? It's a friend of ours. A friend of ours called Kevin. Yes. Well, we might as well mention him. I mean, obviously, you needed practical things if you were on the farm, and Wellington boots and the rest of it. What about uniform, though? Are you into uniform? Have you ever donned uniform?
Well, I mean, as a scout, as a long-term scout, I had uniforms, and you don't think much about it until in my hometown of Sutton Coldfield, they had a World Jamboree. And everyone got terribly excited. And people who actually barely give you the time of day when they saw you in your scout uniform, suddenly you're a friend.
Pride.
Yeah, absolutely.
Proud as well,
Yes.
which is lovely. And that's what uniform can do for you. It can obviously, and that's why you wear uniform, I suppose. I did wear uniform, actually, because I did national service.
Right.
And I was in the Royal Air Force. And we had what was the working blue. And then we had our best blue, which was for special occasions. And we also had hats, of course. There were berets. And there were also these peaked caps, which in all honesty, put that on I looked utterly ridiculous. You were supposed to wear your best blue when you were on leave, even in national service, you were supposed to do that. And
follow those diktats of that protocol.
There's our friend again. Yes.
5 minutes and you'll have a beer.
Oh, there you are. You see, that's the advantage. I mean, how many studios? I mean, the White Hart is remarkable.
It is.
Oh.
And if I could just into whatever.
Yes.
As your friend Russian Lena was in yesterday and came in and was very disappointed that you weren't here, but she got her days wrong.
Well, we all get our days wrong, don't we?
Oh, totally.
I mean, the only reason I come in here is because I know it's a Wednesday.
Yeah.
See? And then you have certain designated things, don't you? So a Tuesday, of course, is this Max Miller mob.
Right.
And a Wednesday, here we are. As for Thursday, we're working at it, actually. We're working at it. I don't know. What would a suitable subject for Thursday? I don't know, really. Maybe...
Probably, I'm looking at somebody throwing the laundry into a bag, so perhaps it's wash day.
Oh yes, as well.
It's laundry day today.
Laundry day today as well, absolutely. Well, I mean, our friend, I was showing everybody this incredible little toy tractor. It's
John Doe. Is it John Doe? John Deere?
I don't think so. And we were saying it's got gears as well.
Yeah.
Front, forward gear, backward gear. It's most remarkable thing. And I used to sell those. I had a shop in Cornwall, and we used to sell those. And little boys would absolutely adore them.
Oh, yes,
they're brilliant. They weren't expensive. I mean, I think we probably paid about 10 or 12 quid for that then. It's probably worth a few more now, though.
Oh yes, I'm quite sure.
Oh, it's one of the old ones, is it?
Yes, absolutely genuine too. Made in the Czech Republic or Czechoslovakia. And they were specialists at doing that. Do you ever go to Czechoslovakia? Ever been there? No,
I've never been.
No. I did. Have you been to Czechoslovakia?
No. It's one of the great losses of my life, because I actually have a friend who was the special representative to the United Nations.
Wow.
Sounds very grand, but she was a lovely lady.
Yeah.
Was very, very friendly. And then she ended up as the Czech ambassador to Kosovo.
All right.
And I just happened to be in Kosovo on one occasion and was entertained royally at her ambassadorial residence.
Charming.
Oh,
oh, thank you.
The sun is over the yard arm. Kevin,
thank you so much.
Kevin is well known to viewers because he does this for me.
Well, absolutely.
And we actually have to test it to make sure
That's what testing.
Oh,
yeah,
very acceptable, Kevin. Yeah, very acceptable.
Superb. Of course, mentioning Czechoslovakia, of course, the famous beer there. I'm just trying to remember what it's called.
Isn't it? It's Budweiser.
No. That's American, isn't it?
No. Bud.
Oh, Budweiser.
Yeah, it's. I thought it was Czech.
I don't know.
Yes, I think so.
Well, we must try
and people swear by Bud because it's strong, whereas the American version is quite weak. It's sort of watered down. Yeah.
I know, yes. I mean, sadly, Prague now is very popular with these parties people have before they get married, stag parties.
Oh, really?
So you get a whole lot of idiots going down to Prague,
go to the Czech Republic,
and drinking, and it is strong stuff. and you drink a few pints of that, and you know, as you get sort of blank checks. It's a lovely, lovely city. If you haven't been there, everybody, I've been there more than once.
Double things,
I was there. I was there during the Russian occupation, funnily enough, and that really was rather frightening, because I had to check in with the authorities. And when I say the authorities, I mean going to a small office somewhere, very anonymous, through back streets, and then going into a room, and then along corridors, and then into another room, very few human beings around, and then having to go in and actually mention that you were in the country. And it was, to be fair, it was quite oppressive. And my colleague who was with me works for the BBC, and of course they were obviously looked into in a big time way. That was before.
Did I mention to you that I actually got a criminal record in Russia? Because actually, I you know, you have this little chitty that you show everywhere. And I had the temerity one weekend to go and stay with some friends at their dacha and didn't bother to tell anybody. Oh my God, half of Moscow police were out. And it was only because I was working for a television station there that they actually paid the fine, signed all the documents, and I said, you know, what was that all about? And they said, well, now that'll be filed in the Kremlin. You got a criminal record.
Well, I use the word oppressive, and that is what it is. I mean, there is, you know, that is why we're drinking here. If you forgive us, but we're drinking here to freedom and the lack of oppression.
Absolutely.
Wherever.
I would drink to that. And this television stands for freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and freedom to be yourself.
Absolutely.
That's the important thing.
Well, as I always say, very boringly, and I think I better go in a moment because I've got a few deliveries to make. I always say that it's anybody in the world can be ordinary. It doesn't take much to be ordinary. What we should all strive for in our own individual ways, friends, is to be extraordinary.
Absolutely.
You know? Not an extraterrestrial,
Yeah.
forget all that. Be an extraordinary human being.
Yes.
Somehow, it doesn't matter how it is. If it means that you stand on your head in the precinct here in Lewis and shout odd things to people, that's probably all right, you see. You've got to be extraordinary.
Yes, and that was actually Max Miller's trademark. Really, he in his day, he was extraordinary, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was,
yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, and what did he say? And he was right, of course. Sadly, there'll never be another. Why? Because he was extraordinary. You know, there are plenty of ordinary comedians out there. They're everywhere, and they're not very good. He was extraordinary. So was Ken Dodd extraordinary. So were Morecambe and Wise extraordinary. So was that lovely man, Mike Yarwood, that he was extraordinary.
Yes.
Too.
He just died, did he not?
He did die, yes. He was at Brinsworth House. I ought to mention that. This is run by the Water Rats, the organisation for entertainers. And it was a lovely place, and I have visited there. And quite a few senior citizens and older members of the entertainment business are there and looked after and cared for. And he was there.
Where is it?
It's probably to the west of London, in the Richmond area, I'm guessing. But it's a delightful house, and it's financed entirely by the Water Rats. And their biggest fundraiser, of course, probably coming up very soon, is the Royal Variety Performance, where all the funds go towards Brinsworth and that particular charity. So we drink to that charity.
Absolutely, I'll drink to that.
Well, this has been delightful, Keith, as ever. I shall take my little tractor away, and if I can find another one for you, my friend.
If you can.
I will.
It's wonderful. I should try and look out at my little tin plate train.
Yes.
Which is very similar, and I think it was made either in Germany or in possibly the Czech Republic while the wall was still up.
Right.
And it was bought for me by a 90-year-old lady because I did her a favour. And I picked up her ballerina daughter on Christmas Day from Heathrow. Yeah. And when I got back, here was this lovely little train. it was a wind up and a tin plate,
Yeah.
and it was worth quite something in those days.
You got the rails as well.
Yeah, absolutely, it's all, and I've still got it in its box. Actually, it's never been out of its box. And they're wonderful things to have because the workmanship is so delightful.
Absolutely.
I mean, some of the plastic models are okay, but things of that sort. I mean, look at the headlights, for instance.
Yes, exactly. Now, whether or not did you know, it would never surprise me if the headlights worked as well. Exactly. Well, next week I think I mentioned the elephant.
Let's see the elephant.
Well, the elephant really is spectacular because it juggles about 6 balls up in the air.
Really?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, elephants, people don't realize this. They see an elephant and they think probably can't do anything. You'd be surprised.
Oh, they
amazing
can
things.
juggle balls in the air. Right, that's wonderful.
Oh, I mean, so next Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen, if nothing else is happening in the week, remember, it'll be extraordinary. And it'll be an elephant juggling balls in the area, probably for a few minutes during the Henty's Plenty half hour. And we look forward to that.
I can sense the unease of the viewers because you have not picked up the key yet.
No, I know that. Well, what I would like to say here, and I think it's important that I should say here, I am going to disappear now, everybody. Now, normally I go out this way behind us, but today I will first of all disappear down here. And while he continues in the usual professional way that he does, you may hear the occasional grunt and groan because this floor is rather dark, and so too. So, are you happy to wait there while I have a look?
I will wait here, and I will chat.
And I'll finish this once I've found the key. So, toodle pip, everybody. Lovely to be with you, and be extraordinary. Okay, be extraordinary.
Now, while John is on the floor, I should tell you that a bit at a time, the secret garden and the large watering can, we take minor steps forward. And John is one of the drivers of that memorial for Stephen and Kathleen. So hopefully it won't be long before he and I are sitting here saying that project is now back underway. And everybody who actually sort of said, "Oh, we'll do it," haven't. And it's a disgrace. And I've said that to a councillor. In fact, I said that to 2 councillors.
Absolutely.
So I hope they're taking it on board.
So do I.
And even if they don't give it to us to do, because we do it as a labour of love, I hope that they actually will get on with it. That's the important thing.
Another extraordinary man, you see, and we remember him because he was extraordinary.
Absolutely.
He wasn't run of the mill. He wasn't average. He was special.
Absolutely. And in civic terms, he was a leader.
Yep.
And earlier, I was opining that we do not have any leadership in local politics at the moment. Yep. But he was a leader. Well, and he said to me one day, I mean, we would have discussion, and he would say, I don't know, there's too much point in being mayor, Keith. And I said, Stephen, it's leadership.
Yep.
That's what any council, any community needs, is leadership. You're a leader, and that's why you're mayor. Exactly. And he was a brilliant mayor. Yeah, absolutely brilliant mayor.
Come to Lewes today, you see, and please do. I mean, do come to Lewes. I was watching some lovely pictures of Lewes earlier here on Mirador. Superb pictures explaining why it's such a wonderful town, which it is. And don't just come on November the 5th, everybody, for goodness sake. It's very boring to come on November the 5th, lovely though it is. Come on another day, maybe to come on the 3 days after November the 5th.
And we do have wonderful things and places to see.
That's right. And then go up to someone in the street and say, "Take me to your leader." And they'll say, sorry? No, sorry, no. I'll ask, excuse me, you know a leader? No, I haven't seen one. Anyone around here a leader? Yeah. I used to know a man called Leader. He was a dance band musician called Harry Leader. Lovely man.
There is 2 men who actually do running in the morning. And while the mornings have been dark, they wear headlights or lamps on the, and you see these things coming towards them. And I said, God, it looked like an alien coming towards me. I said, take me to your leader. So that one of them greets me and says, I'm the leader.
Exterminate! I'd make a very good Dalek.
You would. But mind you, we've got some permanent Daleks, haven't we? You put your money in and you get a parking ticket.
Not with my bicycle. Cheers, everybody.
Hey, John, good to see you.
Yes, keep in touch. Keep taking the tablets.
There we are. Wednesday is always loads of fun and a great way to end off. It is now 11:20, and we had a couple of little pauses this morning, but we will now say cheerio. We hopefully will overcome the technical problems, and this program will be shown again tomorrow, and then we will see you again on Friday live at 8:00 with the two Bs, the two barristers, followed by an interesting morning of programs. As indeed, I hope you found this one was. Till Friday morning, we will say a toodle pip, and let's see. I will find the thing that is, as they say in the trade, plays us out. There we go. Toodle pip.